Around 5 years ago, the Adani Group didn't control a single airport in India. Today, they control around 25% of India's air traffic. Airports like Mumbai, Thiruvananthapuram, Jaipur, Lucknow, etc. are all under Adani's control. They didn't build these airports, they didn't lay a single runway. These airports were built with taxpayer money over decades. But the thing is, it's not just the case of the Adani Group. Many Indian airports are actually going in the hands of private players. Why is this happening though? And what's the story behind this? Well, if you're wondering the same, you're in the right place because that's exactly what we're going to break down in this episode of FinShots TV. FinShots TV is now a part of Zerodha 01 network. Together, we plan on bringing you stories that impact your day-to-day lives, sometimes without you even realizing it. So do consider liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to our channel. Alright, let's take it from the top. India has about 150 airports. The Airports Authority of India, that's AAI, used to run all these airports. These airports are built with money, operated for public service. Some airports made money, like Mumbai, Delhi, Bengaluru. Other airports lost money. These are usually airports in remote parts, like in the northeast or in small cities, etc. But that was an okay arrangement. The profitable airports subsidized for the loss-making airports. The cross-subsidy model worked. Everyone got connectivity. But in 2003, someone had a brilliant idea. Let's privatize these airports. Sounds reasonable, right? The private sector brings in efficiency, brings in more capital, the service quality improves, everyone wins. Except that's not what actually happened. The thing is, when I started looking at which airports got privatized and which companies bought it, I got to see a clear pattern. There are actually 4 major players in this area. There's the Adani Group, you already know them. Then there's the GMR Group, they operate airports like Delhi, Hyderabad, Goa. Then there's the GVK Group. They used to operate Mumbai and Navi Mumbai, but now both of them are owned by Adani. Then there's Fairfax that operates the Bengaluru airport. But you know what's an interesting fact here? Most of the profitable airports in India are privatized. What's actually left with AAI is a slew of non-profitable airports. These airports bleed hundreds of crores in losses every year. So what has essentially happened is that the government has kept all the loss-making airports and has started giving away the profitable ones. But why would they do that? Also, did the companies that have taken over these airports actually have any experience in running these? Actually, that's not completely true. Let me give you an example. In 2019, the government decided to privatize 6 airports. This was Ahmedabad, Lucknow, Mangalore, Jaipur, Guwahati, Thiruvananthapuram. Multiple companies put in their bid. GMR, PNC Infratech, GVK, others. This is a normal competitive bidding. But you know what actually happened? All these airports were won by the Adani Group. All 6 of them. But how did they win all these airports? Did they have huge airport operating experience? Well, that's not true. Plus, the same year, they also started acquiring GVK's stake in the Mumbai airport. By 2021, they controlled the Mumbai airport too. What essentially happened was that in 3 years, a company with no airport experience became India's largest private airport operator. The thing is, the Mumbai airport's takeover deserves its own mention. GVK Group won Mumbai airport in 2006. They built the new Terminal 2, invested thousands of crores in it. Everything was going well. In the process, they had also taken over a huge debt and they started struggling in servicing that debt. Banks were circling, and that's when Adani appeared. Here's where it gets interesting. GVK had agreements with foreign investors like the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, the National Investment Infrastructure Fund, as well as other players. These agreements specifically said that GVK couldn't sell these airports without their approval. Adani still pushed through, and then the airport sale went through. GVK had no choice. They had to sell their airport to Adani or face bankruptcy. Adani got the Mumbai airport. That's India's second busiest airport. with close to 50 million passengers coming in annually. The land alone around this area costs billions of dollars. If you're wondering how did a company with zero experience in operating airports become India's largest private operator in the space, well, that's because they won by bidding 155% higher than other players. Let me explain how the bidding process works. In airport privatization, you bid on how much you will pay AAI per passenger. Whoever has the higher bid wins. Other companies bid around 70 to 100 rupees per passenger. Adani bid 115 to 177 depending on the bid. The thing is, why would anyone bid so much higher than their competition? Did they see any value that others couldn't see? Was there a value that they think they could have created? Well, that's exactly the answer. The thing is, when a private company takes over an airport, they don't just take over the airport. They get thousands of acres of prime urban land around the airport. This land is given to them for 50 to 60 years. When the CAG did an audit on the Delhi airport, their findings showed that the land allocation alone could generate 1.63 lakh crore rupees over 60 years. You know how much the operator paid in equity? That's 2,450 crore rupees. For an investment of 2,450 crore rupees, they could potentially make lakhs of crores rupees by developing the land around, by making hotels, malls, offices, logistic parks, etc. The government does receive a share of the profits from these privatized airports, but the models vary significantly between older and newer deals. For the older airports like Delhi and Mumbai, operations follow a revenue sharing model. Delhi Airport pays about 46% of its gross revenue to the Airports Authority of India, while Mumbai pays around 39%. This sounds substantial, right? But it's important to note that what counts as gross revenue. The government's share excludes income from commercial land development. This means whatever hotels these people have built around the airport or the malls or other non-aeronautical ventures which can be of a significant source of revenue for the operators are not counted in here. If you think that's bad, wait a minute. The newer privatization deals of airports are vastly different. There's no profit sharing there. There's actually a preset model for payments per passenger. For example, let me give you the details of Adani's takeover of those 6 airports. For domestic passengers, they'll pay the government around 115 to 177 rupees. And for international passengers, they'll pay around 230 rupees to 354 rupees. This is regardless of Adani's profitability in operating those airports. The thing is, even if the airport operator is swimming in profits, the government's share would remain fixed. It would be uncoupled from the operator's financial gains. This structure means private airport operators benefit significantly from the commercial developments and operational efficiencies, while the government's revenue largely remains constant or grows a little only when the passenger volumes go up. This has nothing to do with the airport's profits or the land value appreciation around. So essentially what's actually happening is that the government is sort of privatizing control of profitable airports to private companies. Experts are afraid that this trend is also going to play out in other sectors like railways, highways, etc., which means that the government would end up managing mostly the least profitable airports, those that need subsidies, while private players run the big money makers. Also makes sense. Why would a private player want to pay for a loss-making airport? This is a big shift in who controls what. Sure, private companies bring in investments and improvements, but it also raises some questions because how do we make sure everything stays fair? How do we balance the good service, reasonable prices with public interest? What do you think of this? Let us know in the comments and subscribe to FinShots TV for more.